I'd not use this if I could. You could hear me?
No, but they want to record it for the.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, and all our honors to the people sitting down here, the gentleman sitting down here, Mr. Gaskin, who I know a long time. But I'm very thankful to be here to talk to you about some things about my father, which are pertinent to his life that other people might not talk about. Most people would give you a history of Cheddi Jagan. We all know the history of Cheddi Jagan. He did, he went to prison, he came out of prison, he organized the PPP, he won power, he became chief minister, then later in '61, he became premier. I was in the parade from 64 Village all the way down to Georgetown in 1961. And I could tell you that was the height of his popularity and power in this country, the height. I remember when we went by the Gar's house, everybody started to beep, peep, 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 you know, peep, 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 3 times. And I guess it did rattle Mr. Degar. So what I want to talk about is something different. You know, first of all, I'd like to inform the public about Jagan as a dentist. Jagan, people might not know that Cheddi Jagan went to America to become a dentist because his father was one of the smartest East Indians out of Borbis that ever lived, my grandfather. And my grandfather decided in 1932 that none of his children had ever cut a stalk of cane, never. He made up his mind with that. And he sent his first son to become a dentist. That's what he set out to be. Now, my father went to Howard University in Washington, D.C. In them days, I'm trying to keep to the time, in them days, he had to do 2 years of undergrad in science to get in dental school. Howard had a dental school, which I went to, which my daughter, who's going to graduate in 2 months from now, is going to now, the dental school. But Jagan, that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to go to the best. And the best dental school in the world at that time was Northwestern Dental School in Chicago. And that's where he got into. And if you look at his graduation in 1942, I have the picture in my office, as a lot of other pictures I have. But the picture of him on his graduation day shows one colored man among everybody who was white. And the person next to him is a guy named John Engel. And John Engel is like the father of root canal and endodontics. He's the father. His book is used in every dental school in the United States of America. And he came to our school, and I was a student, and the first thing he said when he addressed our class was, "It's an honor to be lecturing the son of a man I went to school with who was a very great man today." You know, so that was before my father became the president again. And by the way, I might refer to my father as the old man, but this is how I refer to him. I always called him the old man, and he always laughed. He found that funny. So Jagan became a dentist, and he came out of the best school. So when he came back here, he brought the best dentistry that they had available to the Guyanese public. And he went in Charlotte Street, where I reopened, and my daughter going to take over. And he developed a very strong practice. And there are a lot of things he told me, he taught me as I was growing up about dentistry. Like he always told me, he said, he always used to complain, he said, he built a practice based on ordinary working class Guyanese. He didn't really like the rich coming to him. He used to complain. They want special privilege, they want to get in first, they don't want to wait, they don't want to pay the bill. He always told me it's better to work on regular Guyanese. And this is what we do today. You know, our office is geared to the regular working people. So he was like that. I remember one time he came to visit me in New York, and I was not busy that day, and he was telling me, well, if a guy came in now and he needs a root canal, why don't you do it for free? Even if, because you ain't got nothing to do. So that was his mentality. This is the way he thought about things. And that was a part of his character that people might not be aware of, the dental part. Because he always said that why he loved dentistry, because it combined art and science. And that is very true, because in restoring teeth, there's a lot of art involved, and the science of dealing with the other diseases that you do is something else. So I just want to say that. And after he came back, he got into politics, as we all know, but he still had a dental office going. And a lot of political work at the beginning was done out of Charlotte Street, PAC and PPP work. My uncle told me that, Uncle Arjun, who told me that he used to go there and carry, deliver things on a bicycle to different political operatives that worked with my father in those days. So he combined his dental, he always told me, by the way, he loved practicing dentistry because when he talked politics to the patients, they couldn't talk back. They had to listen. So he always told me that. And so, you know, so those are the things I want to recollect about his dentistry. Now, as a little boy, I remember going to opposite the prison and waving at him from a house across the road when he was in prison. And, you know, I was a little boy. I was about 6 years old then. But I remember one thing, two things. One thing I remember is that every time I waved to him, he always was smiling. Always he had a smile on his face. I could tell anybody that. And the number two thing is when he came out of jail that night, I was there. And the people, and it wasn't nothing to do with race. They had a lot of black people there lifting him up on their shoulders, and they ran out of the prison with him and took him down the street. And that is the kind of man he was, and this is the kind of inspiration he brought out in people. You know, while he was in jail, he built a lot of political contacts. He never rested. So, I just wanted to read you something. I'm in the process of writing a book on my father. And the name of the book is Conversations with My Dad, Insights into the Mind of Dr. Cheddi Jagan. And it's a book that deals with a different aspect of Jagan and things we talked about and things that he believed in, like corruption. My father believed that corruption in government, or the perception of corruption in government, is one of the worst crimes you could commit against the citizens of a country. I could tell anybody that he always talked about it, corruption. He was against corruption, he wouldn't tolerate it, and he would never put up with it. Right? So, this is one of the things. So, I just wanted to read a couple of things I did for my introduction to the book I'm writing. Right? So, I'll just read a couple of things. My father, the late Dr. Cheddi Jagan, a revolutionary Marxist and a leader who fought for an end to oppression, hatred, and exploitation, was an individual who exemplified the true nature of God's gift of love, understanding, and a passion for doing the right thing in one's life. Cheddi Jagan was really one of the many gifts which Almighty God bestowed on our beautiful country, Guyana, in the sense that gold, diamonds, bauxite, timber, rice, sugar, and everything else can be listed ad infinitum to reach the evident conclusion that we Guyanese are really blessed by the kindness of nature and the Almighty. But blessings also extend to the human capital of brains, and Cheddi Jagan exemplified that. So I go on. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I go on. This book is not intended to be a compilation of his achievements or to be a catalog of his public statements and quotations. This book is not intended to be a critique or dissection of his theoretical beliefs or to question his political ideology. This book really gives the reader, in a chronological order, as I age and until the day my father died, an insight into the mind and thoughts of Jagan, as I honestly remember our conversations throughout the years I interacted in his life. So I go on to present a few more things in my introduction. I was present most of the time as Jagan fought for his life in 1997 at the General Hospital here in Georgetown, in the flight up to Panama, and then to Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C. And I can tell the reader that at no time did my dad show fear or mental weakness. Fear is a visceral and overpowering human feeling that can overcome many of us. But Cheddi Jagan, in all the years I know him, including those violent years in Red House in the early 60s, never ever showed fear. That is the quality which I always admired the most in my dad. He had no fear. And because of his fearless attitude to life itself, it imbued him with optimism and a certain self-confidence, enough of which he could sit in a Guyanese bottom house and be right at home, or on the contrary, he could sit with the Queen of England at State House in 1995 dining table and fulfill all culinary mannerisms with ease. But his self-confidence and optimism in the future never clouded his humility and understanding that the essence of all human endeavor, as he always told me, is persistence. The driving force of mankind's advancement. He always told me that, to be persistent in whatever you do in life. And that's what he was. And his 28 years of being robbed of his constitutional right to lead Guyana while staying in the thick of the fight to restore democracy and usher in a new era, that is persistence. And Cheddi Jagan, and Cheddi lived it from his childhood through dental school in Chicago and throughout his political career. So I just want to close by reading this part. Plutarch is a major Roman historian, wrote in 150 years after Christ that a great leader is not judged by history, by the great